President Trump will deliver the State of the Union address tomorrow night, and Democrats for weeks now have been divided on, well, how do you respond? Are they going to be obnoxious? Are they going to be quiet? Are they going to be respectful? It's all about protest for most of them, though. Party leaders are scrambling to avoid a repeat of last year when their tactics backfired in a big way. Texas Congressman Al Green's outburst got him kicked out. Remember that?
Mr. Green, take your seat. Take your seat, sir. Take your seat. Finding that members continue to engage in willful and concerted disruption of proper decorum, the chair now directs the sergeant-at-arms to restore order. Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
More than 12 Democrats plan to ditch the address altogether, and they will head to the National Mall for a counter rally instead. Congressional correspondent Bill Melugin is on Capitol Hill. Bill.
Harris, good morning to you. There may be quite a few empty seats during President Trump's speech here on the Hill tomorrow night, to your point. Well over a dozen Democrats have said they're skipping this speech, and that's in the context of all the backlash that Democrats got during last year's speech. Take a walk down memory lane. They refused to stand for a child who was battling cancer, as well as angel parents. Then there was Congressman Al Green's outburst in the middle of Trump's speech, which you just showed. Then there were the infamous message paddles that Democrats were holding. And Senator Fetterman says he hopes there will be more respect for the office this year.
I do plan to go to the State of the Union, and then I do hope all the other Democrats that choose to come, that we don't do the same kinds of things that happened at the last year. I mean, it was really undignified. And just the thing, no, I don't care who the president is, don't yell and disrupt that. It's like you really should respect the office.
Some of the Democrats who are expected to skip the speech have already said they plan to attend a rally at the National Mall alongside former MSNBC host Joy Reid in an event that's sponsored by Midas Touch and Move On. Now, other Democrats who do plan to attend the speech are planning to bring victims and survivors associated with Jeffrey Epstein.
I want the president to look the victims and their families in the eyes and say that this investigation is over and that there's nothing more to see, because that's what he's been saying. He has yet to issue an apology to them.
And Republicans say expect the president to take a victory lap tonight after reversing what they say were 4 years of damage to the country during the Biden administration.
You saw the train wreck under Joe Biden, inflation at 40-year highs like we hadn't seen in so long, and Donald Trump is putting the train back on the tracks. We've got economic growth, and you watch. When we get to the midterms, Molly, I'm bullish.
And Harris Congresswoman Ilhan Omar has already announced that two of the guests she's bringing to the speech tomorrow night are Minnesotans who are detained by ICE. All of this, of course, happening in the context of the ongoing DHS shutdown. We'll send it back to you.
Bill Melugin, thank you very much. In focus with me now, Fox News political analyst Gianno Caldwell. Gianno, thank you for being with me. You know, as Bill was just describing the plans of some of these very angry and anti-Trump Democrats, it flashed into my mind that what do they do as leaders, and how do they govern the people who didn't vote for them in their districts? I mean, there are all Americans that they represent in their districts back home.
The unfortunate reality is they haven't been leading for many, many years. This Democratic Party is the party that wakes up eating sour grapes. They have no interest in applauding American greatness. They have no interest in applauding the many achievements that have been led under President Donald Trump. When we look at the economy as an example, and the big, beautiful bill, now the benefits begin to sink in for many of our seniors, many of our working class members. You think about the border being closed. We had almost 3 million people deported, 650 arrests. We see fentanyl deaths down. We see an economy that's roaring, and we see a president who's actually leading on behalf of the American people, and the Democratic Party doesn't have a response to that.
You know, it's interesting. I was reading this weekend about reports that some people were calling for the president to maybe do this from the Oval Office. Absolutely not. This is traditional. Exactly. He will take his place in history, and the children throwing their toys out the cribs on the left need to behave. But what do you think it will look like?
No, 100%. And that's exactly what President Trump can do, because this is the message that Republicans are going to take out to the midterms. The notes in which he echoes tonight will be exactly what you hear Republicans say on the stump. And you keep in mind, this is a president that's going to be out there. It's almost as if he was running for election. They're going to have him on the campaign trail. I'm expecting the president to deliver in a way in which the American people expect him to, presidentially, and tell them what's in it for them. What has he done over the course of a year? And I can tell you, he's accomplished a great deal cleaning up the mess of Joe Biden's presidency, but there's much more to be done.
Last quick question for you, Gianno, and it has to do with those midterm elections. You saw the president a few weeks ago, be in conference, if you will, with Republicans and telling them this is the blueprint on how you win. As you lay that out now, because we're seeing the prices of things go down, we're seeing some movement that's very positive in the economy, where would you like to see him hit tonight? What do you want to hear him say?
Well, we want to talk about affordability. I know people say that's a fake term, but for some people it's a very real term. People want to know how can they afford things again, and obviously he's brought down the price of gas. That's one consideration that he can hit right out the park. Electricity's going down. The price of groceries, as you mentioned, just like that. And I also want to hear him talk about tariffs and the Supreme Court's decision and what is he going to do in response to that. That's going to be a key question, because I know a lot of folks were looking for him to put out these tariff checks closer to the midterms. I'm not sure what's going to happen there, but I would love to hear how that's going to resonate with the American people, because he's been doing a great job bringing the prices down.
Gianno Caldwell, thank you. We'll all be watching.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.